Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Courtside with the Ashland University men's basketball team. Brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Miles Irvin, and today I'm joined by head coach of the Eagles, John Ellenwood. Coach, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Great to hear. Well, you guys wrapped up the regular season last week with, unfortunately, a couple of losses over the weekend. On Thursday, you guys took on the Walsh Cavaliers for the only time this season, falling by 12. What did you take away from that game?
Well, I thought we didn't play a great first half, but I thought our second half was pretty good. They're a great team, and they won our conference regular season for a reason. They're very deep, and their pressure bothers you. But I thought we got it to 3 late in the game there and late in the second half, and just kind of had some bad execution during a small stretch that stretched it out a little bit more than 3, and then we had to foul at the end, and just the way the game went. But I was proud of our guys for battling pretty hard. But we've got to play a little bit better basketball right now. We had an injury the week before, which affects us right now, and we've got to overcome it. But sometimes it takes a couple of games and some guys playing a new role in order to fill that vacuum of a player that's not playing. So, we had that earlier in the year with Aiden Gregory not playing, and then Jason Moore stepped into that role, and now he's been playing pretty good. So with Max being out, we need to have somebody else step into that role, and Max has been playing great, and unfortunately he's not there. So you're missing some points. Max was averaging probably about 15 points over a 6 or 7 game stretch, and all of a sudden those points aren't there, and somebody else has to fill that role for us. So we got to figure that out here, and we got a short amount of time to do it.
Absolutely. Well, the game Thursday was a game where you were able to get some big contributions from your freshman, Jason Henlon, and Bo Siegfried. How is their play in the back half of the season compared to what you expected coming into this year?
Well, they're not playing like true freshmen anymore. There's still things they got to get better at, and we know what they are, and they know what they are. But they're not as nervous out there later in the game. The more reps you get, the less you start worrying about the lights being on and people in the stands, and you start seeing the game playing. You start seeing things a lot easier. So those guys are starting to see the game a lot better as freshmen, and Bo brings a great stability to our team as a point guard, and he's starting to become a little bit more dynamic, which we needed him to do. And Jay Henlon's been very good on the defensive end. He's probably our best defender, and it's just something where I'm proud to see those guys grow.
For sure. Well, then let's go to Saturday, where you guys went to Findlay. An electric atmosphere, as we previewed, fell by 19 after a crazy good second half by the Findlay Oilers.
Yeah.
What do you think went wrong on your guys'
Well, I think the first half was great by us. I mean, we were up 11 going into halftime, and just gave them a chance at the end of the first half, which allowed them to go from 11. They bank in a 3 right at the end and get great momentum come out of the locker room. I don't think we came out of the locker room very well. We had a couple turnovers, a couple missed layups, some open shots that didn't go down, and pretty soon it's tied. And then we just didn't make shots, and it's a tough place to play. Findlay's always a really tough place to play, especially on senior day. But I'm kind of disappointed with our effort that second half. I just felt like we didn't have great on-court leadership that we needed, and we got to remedy that. So they played some zone against us. Not having Max probably hurt us. We got some great looks out of the zone. The shots just didn't fall. So we just need to remedy that today in practice, and we know we're going to see zone here on Tuesday, and it's just execute versus it, find the shots and knock them down, and zone becomes pretty fun to play against.
Yeah, well, you mentioned shots not falling the last couple games, just 10 for 52 from 3 the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. How do you navigate a stretch like this where, like you said, you're generating good looks, but they're just not falling right now?
Yeah, the guy that was making them is not on the team right now, or he's on the team, but he's hurt. And it's just something where somebody else has to step up and make that. Guys that have made them in the past need to do it. And, we're playing Christian Wilkins, who has been, we're redshirting him, but redshirt freshmen this year are allowed to play in 9 games, and this is his 9th game, and we put him in an environment where he played the most minutes this year on the road versus your rival on senior day, and that's the first time he's ever really played a lot of minutes in a meaningful game, and he was you could tell he's very just nervous, and he's excited. And he's got to learn to calm down in those games, and he will. He's great in practice. He does it every day. It's just getting it going from practice to game is where we got to get him going. And Cooper Davis, everybody's been on him. We've had to run him around. He hasn't had really a clean look in a long time, just because people are guarding him so tight. And we've got to get him making some threes as well. Maceo was making threes, and that's a great thing. And then Destin Logan has to make some threes for us as well. But those are our shooters, and some guys that aren't great shooters for us. When they're open, we want them to have the confidence to shoot it and make it. And Jordan Edwards, Jay Henlon, they're not percentage-wise great, but when they're open, they got to make them.
For sure. Well, Coach, before we take a break and talk about the first round of the GMAC tournament, what is the type of message that you try to bring to your team after back-to-back losses?
We haven't had it this year yet, but it's about the process. I'm not worried about wins and losses. It's about, whether we win or lose, we got to get better. So, those are two tough opponents, and we knew that looking at the schedule. But the thing is like, okay, now we got exposed this way. How do we correct it? So you're worried about the process of getting better in those situations, and whether we would have won those games or what happened losing. It's a process of getting better all the time. So I don't think that changes. We don't start yelling at them or anything like that. We just they want to correct it. So that's the thing. As a coach, that, and it's just okay. Let's get to work.
For sure. Well, coming up next on Courtside, Coach and I will break down round one of the GMAC tournament. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Courtside right here on AUTV. Welcome back to Courtside, right here on AUTV. Coach, it's playoff time, and you guys are going to host the Northwood Timberwolves on Tuesday for the first round. Over the regular season, you guys won both of the matchups. What do you think of that matchup for your team?
Obviously, compared to going against Finley, who just kicked our butt, I'd rather go against a team that we've seen twice and have some confidence against. But it's tough to beat that team 3 times. It's tough to beat any team in our conference 3 times. So, I'm glad we're at home. I'm glad we're not the 4 seed. And, that way you at least have a home game, a neutral, and then, if it plays out the way it should, then you're in the championship game, you're on the road. But, I think it's an exciting time. It's a second season for us, so to speak. And, but we're familiar with them, so I think that helps out. And, we got to come and play confident basketball.
Well, in the first game between these two teams, the one that was here at home was the game where Cooper Davis had his career high scoring. What do you hope to see from him in this one?
Another career high. So it would be nice to get him to, get hot. And we need a guy that can step up and make some outside shots and just – Cooper's that guy. We have all the confidence in the world on that. But it's, the second time we played him, they didn't let him breathe, and it's just something where we know that. They're going to be watching our last game, and we're going to see a lot of 2-3 zone, and we got to be ready for it. So it's going to be a good matchup, but we got to execute, and somebody's got to step up and, like I said, fill that role with that. Max has been playing really well, and there's a number of guys, and maybe we do it by committee. Maybe one guy does it, but it's got to be done. But it's do or die right now, and guys got to play with a desperate effort, and they got to play very confident.
Absolutely. Well, in these types of games, these are the type of moments where your leaders need to step up and become leaders for your team. So for Maceo Williams, what do you look for from him in this game?
Desperate effort. We want to see him lead by example and then show the guys emotionally the right way on how to attack this game. We don't want him to be a negative emotion. We want him to be a very positive emotion, and guys are going to feed off him and his mentality going into this game. So, just be that senior leader. He's had a great year, great career, and let's go out. This is the time to go out in a blaze of glory.
Absolutely. Well, overall, as a team, what is it going to take to win on Tuesday and advance to the semis this weekend? Well,
they got really good post play out of their 4 and their 5. The good thing is we have a good 4 and 5, and they have some depth. Our depth has to make sure that they're playing really well. But it always comes down to me, the defensive end of stuff. They have a dynamic point guard who can make some great passes, but we've got to keep him in check. Jay Henlon's going to be very important in this game defensively for us, and it's just some guys that are not solid defenders for us all the time. Have to be solid in this one or done situation.
Absolutely. Well, obviously a huge game coming up on Tuesday for you guys, but the whole entire GMAC has been tight all season long. Yeah. So let's take a look at the matchups as a whole here. The top 4 seeds get to host. So Walsh, Hillsdale, ODU, Findlay, and Lake Erie taking on Kentucky Wesleyan. What do you think of those other matchups?
Any of those games wouldn't surprise me if anybody won. Obviously Walsh will be favored versus Hillsdale. I think the Ohio Dominican-Findlay game is going to be a great game, but Dominican at home is going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough out for anybody that goes in there. And then Lake Erie is, they haven't lost since January sometime. So, but Kentucky Wesleyan's got a bunch of seniors. They're a different team than the last time they played Lake Erie. That's a long way to drive from Owensboro up to Lake Erie, but it's. That's a tough team to beat. And the thing with Kentucky Wesleyan is they have now seen Walsh and Findlay and Lake Erie. They've seen the pressing stuff. So I think they're going to be pretty well established versus those. Their point guard is very solid. So that'll be a great game as well.
For sure. Well, last thing for you, Coach, you guys will get to play a postseason game at Cates Gymnasium in front of the home crowd for the first time since 2023. You have any messages for the Eagle faithful heading into that game?
Hey, come out, support us, have fun, and we feed off you guys. So just make sure you come out here and cheer for those guys, and come out and see guys like Maceo Williams play his last home game in front of a crowd, and I mean he's the only player in the history of our program to be in the top 3 in scoring and top 3 in rebounding. There's been a lot of players that have played here. That's a special player. So, it's just somebody that you should want to cheer for. And time flies, but, coaching that kid is an amazing thing. But it's the last time you're going to get to see him at home.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thanks so much, and best of luck this week.
Thank you, guys.
As a reminder, be sure to tune in to 88.9 WRDL for full live game coverage of the Eagles men's basketball team all season long. Once again, I'm Miles Irvin saying thank you so much for tuning into Courtside right here on AUTV.